all of your favorite recipes. Simply Food.
You should know by now that you're in for a treat.
Simply Food.
There's no other channel where you'd rather be.
Simply Food. Seafood, pasta, cakes, and pies. Sing and laugh and even cry. Like and share and hit subscribe. Simply Food by TY.
What is up, you guys? It's your boy Simply Food by TY, and today we are back with episode 4 of Absolutely or Absolutely Not, where I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make delicious French macarons, and this recipe is going to be coming courtesy of the Preppy Kitchen. So let's get right on into it, honey. So when it comes to making French macarons, it is extremely important that you have a scale. A scale is going to be your best friend. This is not one of those type of recipes where you can just go in and wing it and do it by eye. This is very, very meticulous cooking. So if you get yourself a scale, it will save you a lot of the headache, and I promise you the recipe will come out just fine. So what we're doing right now is we are measuring out 100 grams of egg whites, and you want to make sure that those eggs are at room temperature. Now, typically, 100 grams would equal out to be about 3 large eggs. But once again, because we want to make sure that we get it just right, we're going to use a scale so that it comes out to exactly 100 grams. And then we can go on ahead and set that to the side. The next thing that we're going to work on, once again with our scale, is we're going to go on ahead and start measuring out our granulated sugar. Now, I'm measuring out 90 grams of granulated sugar, which is just under a half a cup. But once again, we want to make sure that we get that to the exact measurement. Set that to the side. Now, I'm going to be using my food processor to blend everything up. So go on ahead and put your food processor on your scale and then go ahead and zero that out. I'm going to be using the King Arthur grain-free almond flour. Find the best almond flour that you can possibly find, and that's what I would suggest to use. You want to make sure you're using the best possible ingredients for these French macarons, because I promise you, it really does make a big, big difference. So I'm measuring out 140 grams of the almond flour, which is roughly about 1.5 cups. Now, the reason why we're putting this in the food processor is because macarons are supposed to be very nice and smooth, and of course have that classic feet that you see at the bottom. And the only way that you're really going to be able to get that, I would say, is if you run everything through the food processor. So even if on the bag it says that it's extra smooth, even if it says that it's extra fine, pay that no attention. Still run it through the processor. To that, I also added in 130 grams of powdered sugar, which is about 1 cup. Now, before we run it through, we ran it through the food processor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sift it through the food processor, I would say probably about 3 or 4 times until it is very, very, very smooth. Now, this is what I would suggest. For the first, I would say maybe 2 times. It's completely fine for you to go on ahead and press it through the bottom. You can use your fingers and press it through the bottom of the strainer itself. The sifter, I'm sorry. But I would say on that last time, your 3rd or your 4th time, just leave those pebbles alone, because you don't want to mess around and then push one of those through, because again, you want this to be nice and smooth. So just repeat that process a couple of times, and then on the very last time, if you have, any, pebbles of any kind, you can just go on ahead and discard those. The reason why we use about 140 grams of the almond flour and 130 grams of the powdered sugar is because we know that we're going to lose just a little bit. But as you can see, that's nice and smooth. Now, before we start whisking up our egg whites, you want to make sure that the surface of your mixer is extremely clean. So take a tiny, tiny bit of white vinegar and just clean out the inside of your bowl, and that's going to get rid of any excess oil that's been left behind from any of your previous baking dishes. Once again, we are going to be whipping up these egg whites, so we need to make sure that there's no oil that's going to go in and disturb anything that we're trying to do. Also, make sure that you're wiping down your whisk attachment as well. So now we're going to go ahead and put our egg whites into our stand mixer, and we're going to go on ahead and whisk that until you start to see it become I would say slightly frothy. As you can see, it's created a little bit of bubbles. Once you see that, you want to go on ahead and add in 1/4 of a teaspoon of your cream of tartar, and then go on ahead and continue to allow that to whisk, okay? Once it comes to the point where, it's starting to slowly come together, that's when we're going to go on ahead and start adding in that 90 grams of the granulated sugar. Now, it is extremely important. As you can see, I'm adding that in about a teaspoon at a time. Of course, you don't have to do it with a teaspoon, but the purpose is that you want to make sure that that sugar is thoroughly dissolving. If you pour it in all at once, it'll start clumping up. And once again, we want this batter to be extremely smooth. So to help that process, what we're going to do is just gradually add the sugar in little by little by little until it's all done. Trust me, it all makes a big difference in the end. Now, as you can see, this is still, almost like a heavy whipping cream texture, and we don't want that. We want this to be nice and firm peaks. It should be almost to the point where, you can flip it upside down over the top of your head and it won't fall out, okay? So I'm adding in some vanilla bean paste. I'm adding in about 1 teaspoon. And I'm also going to be adding in some food coloring. You can add in whatever color you would like, but my suggestion is make sure that you are using gel food coloring. Do not use liquid. If you add any liquid food coloring, it's going to completely ruin the texture of your egg whites, and you do not want that. So make sure that you use gel, and also by using gel, that'll also help make sure that the color stays nice and bright even after baking. As you can see, that's nice and stiff. You saw those peaks. I was able to flip it upside down. We had no issues at all. So listen to me closely, folks. This step right here is probably the most important in the entire recipe. And this is the folding of the almond flour powdered sugar mixture into your egg whites. So what this technique is called the macaronage. So what you're simply going to do is you're going to go around the outside of the bowl and then cut sharply down the middle. You do not want to go in and just start harshly mixing it, okay? You want to add it in little by little by little and continue to fold it in and cut down the middle. I'll show you guys a few more times. So we're going to start around the side and cut straight down the middle every single time. Around the side, cutting through the middle. Around the side, cutting through the middle. And by doing that, it's going to make sure that everything is going to get mixed in. Now, the thing about this is you're going to have to use a little bit of force, because you do want to make sure that everything is fully incorporated, but you don't want to overmix this. And I'll be able to show you guys what the texture should properly look like in a few moments, but I wanted to make sure that I really took my time and showed you guys exactly what this should look like, so that you really get a sense of about how long it takes, as well as what it looks like as far as doing the folding process and all of that. So I'm almost done. At this point, I've added in about all of the mixture. So now you can be a little bit more, vigorous with it, and, make sure you're scraping down the sides. And as you can see, the texture at this point has completely shifted. It almost kind of turns into, it's almost like a cement type texture, in my opinion. Now, the way you will know if, your batter is ready is if you're able to form a figure 8. Now, what you see me doing right now is I'm pressing all of the mixture up against the sides of the bowls, because you want to remove as many air pockets as possible. If you have air pockets in your batter mixture, when you go to start piping them on the macaron palette, what's going to happen is when you bake them, you're not going to have flat tops. They're going to either sink in or you're going to have holes. And as you guys saw, I was able to form that figure 8. So that means now, I was at the perfect texture. So stop. Once you're able to form a figure 8 and it doesn't break, you're good to go. Put the spoon down, put it into your piping bag, and we can move on to the next step. So because I'm not a pro at making these, and I will never call myself a professional at making these, I am not about to just go freestyle with these. So I bought these little what do you call these little templates? I got these right off of Amazon, honey. Now, some people are really against the silicone mats, but to me, I don't mind them at all. Just make sure that they're extremely dry. Make sure they have no moisture, no oil on them, and I had zero issues. Now, pay close attention to how I'm piping the bag. I'm going vertical, straight down, applying slight pressure, and then immediately pulling up, doing a little tiny twist on the end as I come up. And as you can see, they perfectly flatten out completely on their own. You don't want to overdo it. Try to keep it in the little tiny circle because they will spread out on their own. And as you can see, the mixture comes out perfectly. Now, you'll know if you overworked your batter, if it's just running out of the piping bag. That should not happen at all. It should stay kind of firm. It should take a little bit of force for it to come out of the piping bag. That's how you know that you've done a damn good job at making your mix. So we'll let that keep going, and I'll be back in a moment. So now that we got that all done, you want to pat those down so that you can really make sure that you get all of the air pockets out. Once again, that is extremely important. That is the only way that your macarons are going to come out nice and flat. You must make sure that you've gotten all the air pockets out. And if you still see some, as you can see, I'm taking a little toothpick and I'm just poking them out, and then you can tap it back down on the table a little bit more, and that's completely fine. Now, once you do that, you want to make sure that you sit those out on the countertop, okay? Allow those to sit for about 40 minutes up to an hour, okay, before you put them in the oven. What's going to happen is there's going to be a really nice film that's going to be over the top of them. You're going to bake those in the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes and then sit them on the counter and then let them completely cool off. As you can see, they rose up beautifully. You can see the nice feet at the bottom, nice smooth tops. You've done your job correct. Once again, they're very, very smooth. You see the little feet and they're nice and smooth. So once you do that, just sit them on the cooling rack, honey, and then, let those cool off while we work on the icing itself. But once again, before you put them in the oven, make sure you just sit them on the countertop, allow them to sit for about 40 minutes. Then you will put them in the oven, 300 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes. Keep an eye on them. Let's work on that icing. Let's get this quick buttercream done. So what we're adding in right now is 2 sticks, which equals out to about 1 cup of unsalted butter. You want to make sure it's room temperature so that it's really easy to kind of melt down and get nice and mixed in. To that, we're going to add in our confectioner sugar, which is about 1 pound, about 454 grams. And then you're going to go ahead, I would say put a lid over it if you have a lid, or put a towel so that you don't go and make a mess all over your damn kitchen, because ain't nobody got time for that. Let that kind of get, kind of mixed about a bit. It's going to be really, really thick and kind of hard. Once you at least get it mixed in somewhat into the butter, then what you'll do is you'll go in with 3 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. If you don't have heavy whipping cream, you can use milk. That's fine, or half and half. I'm going to be going in with about 3 to 4, little dotfuls of the same gel food coloring, and then about a tablespoon of the Nelson Macy vanilla bean paste. You're going to let that fully mix up, and then you have yourself some delicious buttercream icing. It's very basic, very straight to the point, but absolutely delicious. Now we're going to fill them up, you guys. That's it. You've made yourself some French macarons. What you're going to do now is you're going to fill them from the inside and then work your way to the inside. You don't want to put too much icing in it. It's not necessary. You don't want them to be overly sweet. My advice would be, once you're done making these, put them inside of a sealed container, put them in your fridge, let them sit for about 2 to 3 days. They taste better as they sit. Trust me. And that's it, you guys. You have made yourselves delicious homemade French macarons. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This recipe was an absolutely. So cheers to the preppy kitchen. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all baby stay cute and take care. Bye, guys.
Slaying in the kitchen.
Simply Food by TY.
We hope that you enjoyed it.
Simply Food by TY. If you haven't took the time, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Simply Food.